Hello Steelers, and welcome to another Bench Report hobby update. This week I've been actually pretty quiet because I was at a conference for basically 2.5 days. I was a meeting on another day as well up in Cumbria, a conference over in Chester. So I've basically been out of action from a painting and gaming point of view, so I didn't get to go down to the club this week. But never mind, there'll be time for that in the future. But I did actually manage to get a couple of things painted off and finished off this week as well. I painted the French battalion, so I'd done one of the sprues from Warlord's epic stuff, one of the French ones, and I was actually painting that as a video, which I will put together and put out. That'll be in a few weeks. Give it some time. I've yet to write the script and do all the other bits and pieces. I've done the main filming though. But I just finished off the bits from the sprues, so that was the French artillery piece that comes on the sprues and also the voltigeurs as well. So I just did a couple of stands of those along with that artillery piece, and that was that, another sprue finished. So I think that's the third one of the French infantry, so 7 more of those to go. I'm going to keep grinding away at them as long as I can, and I'm sure I'll get them finished at some point. Probably a little bit longer than I initially thought, but you know, they're something that is going to sit in the background, and I'm just going to keep going. When I have finished those and the British, I will do a showcase video of the armies, of course. The other thing I painted as well this week, or really I suppose, yeah, it was kind of last week, it was at the weekend, was some this Essex miniatures caisson. So this is the French caisson, 15mm. And I bought this really with GDA2 in mind, because you use caissons, and I just wanted to see what it looked like as well in the flesh, and also how it racks up against the other the epic scale figures, because no matter how many times people tell you that they're 13.5mm, they're not. They're 15mm. I've measured them against 15mm figures. They fit perfectly with Peter Pig. They fit perfectly with Plastic Soldier Company. Now, if only either of those two did some Napoleonics, we'd be happy. But they don't. So what I've done is I also bought in the post as well this week were some Essex miniature figures. This is one bag of them. Obviously the caisson as well came. So these are British, I think British commanders and cavalry commanders. I wanted to experiment with these because one of the things that I really like the epic stuff, but one of the things I don't like about it is that you are pretty much fixed with the sprue. So you will always get a commander, you will always get, you know, an artillery piece, you will always get the voltigeurs. Some of that stuff doesn't matter. You can never have too much artillery, you can never have too many voltigeurs. But the problem is the commanders are all the same pose, and I don't mind it when it's, you know, the infantry, for example. Because there's so many of them, you can mix them up a bit on the bases and mess about with those, so it's not as obvious. But the commanders, you know, when they're all in the same kind of pointing pose, it looks a bit, dare I say it, naff. So what I wanted to do was for brigadiers and for ADCs and things, because at this point I'm most likely going to be using my epic stuff for GDA2. I wanted just to do some, to get some different figures and check them as well. I've also got in the post, I'm waiting for Magister Militum to send some of their 15mm stuff through as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm then going to have a little, make a little video just about a comparison of the Epic versus Essex and the Magister Militum stuff, so people can kind of see exactly how they fit. At the moment, the Essex stuff seemed to fit pretty well. A tabletop distance, for example. I probably wouldn't mix the infantry figures in with the epic infantry figures, but certainly the you know, the leaders and things like that, when they're out on their own base, or part of a vignette or something like that, they would work perfectly well, I think. But I'm going to do a proper video, but proper comparison of it as well. I'm going to have a look around for some other 15mm Napoleonic stuff as well, buy in just some other bits and pieces, so people can have a pretty good idea as to, you know, what works and what doesn't. The other thing that I got in the post as well this week was this thing here, this Great Battles of World War I. Now, I bought this because I saw somebody else, Daniel Hodgson was talking about it actually over on Facebook, and he was talking about the Second World War Great Battles of the World and Second World War Great Battles, and I used to have those when I was a nipper, and they were great nostalgia for me at the time. They used to be in the school library, they were in the local library, I used to get them, you know. The book stamp was generally always mine, that took them out of the library. And they are, you know, from a point of view of looking at military history differently, they're really, really good, because you've got this these really lovely panorama paintings done by, I'm not sure who did the actual paintings, but they were of their time. They were revolutionary because they were using computer graphics to create the landscapes and then painting off those, and they look terrific. They're really good. You know, they're full of adventure, full of excitement. There's obviously some history in here. However, this is the First World War one, and immediately as soon as I opened it, I kind of regretted buying it. Sometimes nostalgia is much better in the past, let's just say, simply because I opened it up. First of all, I saw some racist language about Serbians. That was literally the first page I opened on. Secondly, there is a section on Douglas Haig, and about how he wasn't a technically minded. This is the man that pushed for tanks to be used. This is the man that was pushing for aircraft to be used. You know, absolute nonsense. It's really rooted in its time, and as I say, sometimes nostalgia is just maybe best left where it is. But you know, if you want to go and buy one of these, just at least for those pictures, and they are, you know, they are nice. It's a really nice. If Yorkshire Ken is looking at this, there's a really nice fold-out page here of, you know, it's like a Playboy centerfold for Ken. I think this is of Jutland, the Battle of Jutland going on there. So you know, I can't say that the artwork is terrible, because it isn't. It's lovely, but history and the racism in there. Wow. Let's just put that one on the old. I wish I'd not bought it pile. The other thing that came in the post was a copy I'd made of Fire in the Sky. Now, this is from Mark Fastoso. He is the guy who wrote Fireball Forward. He's been on Little Wars TV. I'm sure most people who watch this channel are probably, you know, aware of them. He's been on there playing Fireball Forward and other games and things that he set up. I think they did the fall of the Reich, the Reichstag game. I think that was Mark's. He has his own channel as well, Mark's Game Room. Go and check that out. I mean, it's a good channel anyway. They do quite a lot of mix of history and wargaming in there, and bits and pieces as well. And they do it a lot more professionally than me, I've got to say. But he very kindly sent me this. He actually sent it me a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of been sat in my inbox for a little while. But I downloaded it, printed it out, and I thought I'll have a look at this, because I like Fireball Forward. It's a very interesting game. I did a review of it a while ago. The other thing is I got it done printed through Docs Direct, and as always, Docs Direct send you a sweetie, so they're well worth patronising and going to use them if you're at least in the UK. They're very quick as well. But I got this printed out. It is, let's have a look, it's about 24 pages long. I think Mark is selling it on his website, probably on the Wargames Vault as well as a PDF. So go and get a copy, go and have a look at it. I am going to play a game of this. I'm recording this on Friday, and I'm going to be playing this after I've recorded this video. So that's the plan for today. I'm doing a Battle of Britain version. In the basic set, it's the Battle in the Skies over Germany in 44. So this is volume 1, and this is Big Week 44, so February 44. It has let me just say, actually, it's grand tactical battles in the sky. So this is not one-on-one aircraft. This is squadrons and individual sections. The smallest unit is a section, basically. So you're moving those around. I'm going to have to fudge it a little bit and just use one aircraft as a section. And as you know, anyway, I mean, on this channel, I'm a big fan of Bag the Hun. I think it's a fantastic game, but that is very much one-on-one, you know, pilot skill. This is very much more about the strategic squadron skill over the individual pilots in them. So slightly different, you know, different level of gaming, and it's done on a grid as well, which I'm interested to see how that's going to work out with an air game. Very, very simple stuff. Really nicely simple stuff as well. I've read through it a couple of times now because it's only 20 pages. Very easy. But as I say, I don't have 1944 stuff. I want to get like B-17s and P-38s and P-47s and all that stuff, and the Focke-Wulfs and things. I want to get all those at some point. I just haven't had time or chance at the moment to do it. So I asked Mark if he did actually have anything to do with the Battle of Britain, because I've got Battle of Britain and Malaya aircraft in my collection, so I wanted to use those. I was just going to try and fudge some of the stats in the 44 stuff, but I asked Mark. I just said, you got Battle of Britain stuff, and of course he has got Battle of Britain stuff. So very kindly he sent me the Battle of Britain action chart, which I've got here. I've printed and laminated this. He's asked me not to show this to people in any great detail, so I'm not going to in this case, because I think this is going to be coming out as another volume of this. By the time my video is out, and I've asked Mark if I can use the Battle of Britain stuff on it, he said it's fine. By the time that is out, I'm fairly sure this will probably be out anyway, but I'm not going to give you any spoilers. But you know, it's quite similar in its own way anyway to the 44 stuff. So I'm interested in it because it uses a grid, it uses, you know, tactical, strategic level gaming, and it looks pretty simple as well. It's, you know, it's about how to get your aircraft into the right position using your action points and things. And there's a really nice way of using. I don't normally like it. I've said this before. I don't normally like using decks of playing cards in war games. It just kind of always, to me, it just feels a little bit like it takes you out of the game a little bit. I prefer something that's a bit more specific to the game, you know, a set of cards that is specific. It's just an immersion token on my part. But this uses a deck of cards. You draw a card, you then choose a unit to move. You then draw another card. If the card face value is higher than the previous one, then you can choose another unit to move, but you can't move two in a row. That's simply it. Until you draw one lower, then the enemy takes a turn. So there's no real fixed turns. It's really about how, as long as you, so if you pull a 2, you could potentially keep playing for another 12 turns at least, you know, before your opponent gets a go in. And I really like that. It's that initiative of air combat that is really, really required. So I'm looking forward to diving in and getting a game of this, and once I've had a game or two at least of this, I will do a full review of it as well as properly. I mean, you can probably already tell where that review is going to go at this point here. So yeah, that's what I've had in the post. That's what I've painted. I am currently painting some NVA. They're over on the table over there. These are the last ones of the 3D printed ones that I've got at the moment. I'm going to get them finished off. Then I'm going to finish off the Americans. I don't think I've got enough yet to do a game of Charlie Don't Surf just yet. I need to count them up because I've got a few extra bits and pieces here and there, but what I'm going to be doing then is probably looking for some more of those, so I might have a look around for some 3D printed ones, and because the Peter Pig ones don't really fit exactly with the 3D breed ones, and I've now got more 3D breed ones than I've got Peter Pig, so it's you know, what do I do? Do I go down the route of just getting the 3D printed ones from somebody who's selling them, or do I buy the STLs and get them printed by a third-party printer? I'm not sure how to do that yet, but that's something I'm going to think about. I mean, at the moment, I really don't need any figures at the moment because I've got so much stuff. But let's have a quick turn over to some news. In other news, Paul over at Sabotaged has released some 15mm fences. I'm going to buy some later on today because these are iron railings rather than actual fences. He sent me a couple of pictures of some of the stuff printed out, so I'm looking forward to those, and it's stuff that I've really been after. And these fit more in places like Arnhem, for example, rather than the wooden fences or hedges that you would normally have on in other places like in France and things. So I'm looking at doing some Arnhem stuff at some point in the future when Nick's from Too Fat Lardy's Arnhem handbook finally comes out, which I'm sure it is currently under pressure to be pushed out of the door. But in other news, speaking of things coming out, and this is from Too Fat Lardy's, and this is something that I've really been looking forward to for, it's got to be at least 4 years now since you first mentioned it, and this is the Far East Handbook, Volume 1. Apparently it went to the printers last week as you are watching this, and Rich announced it on Chain of Command Wargame Facebook page. He's also given a list of all the forces that are going to be in the book, and there's over 50 units. This is volume 1, So this is basically, let's call it the British and Dutch Far East. So it is the forces, the early days forces. So you've got lots of British and Indian forces in there. You've got the Dutch National Army in there, KNLI I think it's called. You've got those in there. You've got other bits and pieces. You've obviously got the Japanese as well. But there is a huge number of army lists in there, which I'm massively looking forward to diving into and seeing what we can mess about with, because I've got so many figures for that period. Also, as well, he has also announced as well there are going to be 3 pint-sized campaigns that are going to be coming with it, and I know one of them is the Jitra line, which is the Malayan Peninsula fighting, so that's going to be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to that. As soon as I get my hands on a copy, I will put together a review or a flip through, and I will show you exactly what's in there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As I say, this is volume 1. Volume 2 is going to be covering more of what you would traditionally think of as the Pacific. So that's going to be where the American forces are going to be in those. For example, so like the USMC and things, they're going to be in the 2nd edition, which I think arguably probably is going to be a little bit more popular because more people play Pacific than they do the early Far East stuff, myself not included, of course. So that's going to be something interesting to look at. And again, once I get my hands on that copy, I'm sure that probably won't be too far behind the 1st edition, simply because I know Richard's been working on all this, and what he had to do was basically split it into two books because it's just been too big. Basically, there's just too much information, and it would have been financial suicide to do it as one, from what I can gather on his comments on the on the Chain of Command Facebook page. Basically, the cost of sending something that big would just absolutely financially cripple them. So it's better to do it in 2, I think, and go from that way. So fair dues, you know, that's business. So that's pretty much it for me this week. Yeah, so looking forward to that. I'm going to do a bit more painting, so there will probably be a bit more Vietnam stuff in next week. So we'll see how we get on, see if something else shiny takes my eye. And I'll leave it to that. Say, obviously, check out the Warlord affiliate link down there if you're going to buy anything from Warlord. That's rules, paint, figures, whatever. If you use my affiliate link, I get a few quid back, and it costs you nothing. Also, check out the Patreon as well for the channel. You'll get videos a week early whenever I make them. So like the Fire in the Sky video, for example, that will be out a week early. You will also know, you'll have the warm glow of knowing that you are helping the channel out, because I put the money back into creating more and more videos and more content for you. And if you haven't, as always, do subscribe. It does help out the channel, helps the algorithms, pushes the thing up. I think by the time this goes out, I will be on 13,000 subscribers. So thanks to every single one of you people who have subscribed already. There's still room for more though. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button for the notifications, and I'll see you in the next Storm of Steel video.